Hey, Emily Claire McFarland, how are you doing, girl? It's your dad, your father, number one dad here. Okay, number two. Today is the 31st of July, 2019, and I just wanted to be present for you today. I'm curious about what's going on in your life. I'm always thinking about ways that I can support you and help you to grow and mature into a woman. And if I can do just a small thing every day to help that happen, I will feel successful. And I think these videos go a long way toward helping me to do that, to help you, support you to grow and thrive and become the most, just become an amazing woman. Now, let me tell you about becoming an amazing person. Of course, all of us are always amazing all the time, but it takes years and years and years of living life in order to sort of get good at it. Like, I've been doing life for about 48 years now, and oh wow, there's still very big, wide areas of improvement that I could make. I mean, and here's the thing. Here's the kicker. I am continuously interested in self-improvement, self-development, self-growth in every avenue of my life, right? There are so many behaviors to make improvements on. I mean, even if I live 10 times longer than I've lived, dealing with the slings and arrows of regular life is a challenge. It's a challenge. I've been living for almost a half a century and I'm still challenged by it. I'm continuously learning, continuously modifying my behaviors, and honing, refining my behaviors, making them more precise. And still, there are situations where I regret what I've done or said or how I could have done things better. Now, that's not to say that like 99% of my life is fantastic. I mean, it really truly is an amazing life, and my behaviors are calibrated and aligned to reality as it's happening. But let me tell you, that 1%, it's really tough to get rid of that 1%. I guess for me, it's maybe around 5 or 10% improvement I could possibly make. But let me tell you, I'm always sort of catching up with life. Here's the thing, life's complicated. The universe is a big place. I mean, it extends out to one edge and out to the other, over across great distances. Power like you can't imagine, size like you can't imagine, detail and technical difficulty like you cannot imagine. I mean, I'm imagining now like genetics and all the learning in that subject area, from the DNA and the RNA and the messenger RNA and the transcriptase and there's a lot to know about our genetic past, our genetic present, and there's a lot to know about how the world comes together. In particular, the social world with communication. Everyone has an independent mind, and we've got like some modicum of free will to change our behaviors, and we have the nervous systems that we do with their properties, the senses that we have. It's just complicated. It's complex. Life is not easy. It's a challenge for human beings. And I'm continuously learning more and more about how to be emotionally intelligent. And the fact is, I mean, I don't necessarily have an emotional intelligence gift where I'm just, where these things come naturally. I'm not even sure I've got an emotional intelligence talent, but I do have the will to focus in on my emotional intelligence and try to develop that as much as I can so that I can survive and thrive in relationships. And not only that, I also have a philosophical bent, which means I'm interested in philosophy and psychology of the whole behavioral problem. And let me tell you, it's a challenge. And I just want you to know that, first of all, life is a long haul. It's a marathon, and so it's important. One of the most important things is to really just have some degree of retained intrinsic motivation, retained uh, em- enthusiasm. If you can do that, and if you can sort of foster this um, curiosity about other people and the world and yourself, um, this love of learning and growing, then you'll be just fine in time. I mean, what's great is that life isn't that hard. Human beings, through our civilization, this project of staying alive, we're doing pretty good at it. We've got the electricity, we've got heated homes, we've got computers, smartphones, cars. You have to realize where we've come from. We literally, as the human beings, used to live in caves. Okay, that is what we would do. We would live in caves, and um, we would also be eaten by wild animals. This is where we've come from. We would literally be eaten by like lions and tigers and bears, and because of problems with microbes, many of us died, the historical generations, from things like just a scratch. We died from breaking our bone, from a fall. um, we died in so many sort of unnecessary ways. Today we've sort of figured out how not to die. We've done a pretty good job of that. And whereas most people can live to a ripe old age of 65, 72 years old, something like that, with very little problem. And that's fantastic. So human beings have pretty much mastered the art of staying alive, at least for a while. So thankfully, those logistical issues, those main risks of being alive, like wild animals and exposure to super hot, super cold temperatures, and then also getting enough food. Thankfully, we've solved that problem. We're definitely getting enough food now in our society. Um, we're still having some difficulties with distribution, right? We got the poverty and homelessness questions, problems. But I think we're doing a pretty good job of putting all the pieces together. Slowly, it's coming together. And let me tell you, one area which I tend to focus on a lot is my relationships, because they mean so much to me. My familial relationships with my brothers and sister, my mom and dad, my aunts and uncles and cousins. My relationship with you is very critical. On a scale from 1 to 10, in terms of importance to me, it's a 10, and that is no exaggeration. Certainly, the relationship with myself is also important. Again, that's also a 10. On a scale from 1 to 10, it's a 10. Maybe it's a 9. Let me tell you why. I think I appreciate having a relationship with myself, but I also try not to get too self-involved. It's too easy to get too personal. See, here's the thing. It's too easy to get wrapped up in your own thinking. And actually, a lot of the times I try to separate myself from my thinking a little bit, because the fact is, I've got all these ideas that are occurring in my head, in my brain, right? And sometimes they're like a mask. I mean, I cannot see beyond the ideas about this is me and this is what I'm doing and this is what matters to me. Somehow I need to open up my eyes and notice, hey, there are other people in the world. They have needs, wants, desires, hopes, dreams, goals, values. I've got to see that. But what it's so easy for me to just sort of be in my own world. And so I do have to peel away the curtains every once in a while to sort of get to know the fact that there are other people out there like yourself and like my friends who are distributed all across the world, mainly in Southern California, and in my family who's in New Mexico. And, just, I don't know. I do have an interest in sort of widening out my perspective and understanding how the world works, the social world works, and how other people work. Good luck, Miguel. Good luck. I know I'm gonna need it. Here, let me pat myself on the back for at least giving it a try. That's pretty courageous and brave, if you ask me. A lot of people decide not to go on that journey because it's just such a challenge. I am trying to come up with themes, behavioral themes, sort of shortcuts and ways to sort of help how I present myself in front of others and how I signal interest and how other people do the same. So anyway, I'm working on it. That's the best I can say. That's the best I can do. So let's see what's been going on lately. Oh, just amazing stuff. I had a nice texting conversation with you last night, Emily. Thank you very much for sharing that you were reading 2 books, Great Expectations and Wuthering Heights. Wow, those are really deep books. And I myself have attempted to read those books at a few occasions and sadly came up short. But now I've read like synopsis of those and summaries of those books. But here's the thing about those books. I have a hard time getting into them. First, because they're fiction. I tend to like facts and figures, and I gravitate towards the nonfiction books. Fiction, I have some trouble with. And here's the fact, too. These fictional books are also written like a long time ago, right? Like Emily Bronte, Wuthering Heights. I don't know how long. I think, that work has got to be 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. I don't know. Maybe it's not that old, but it's and I also have a difficult time relating to different cultural norms. I think that story, Wuthering Heights, was like in England a long time ago, and you know, I actually like the historical nature of the work, but I have a hard time relating to the social structure that existed at that time, where you, couldn't they just text each other and meet up? Of course they couldn't. Yeah, thankfully we've got smartphones these days. But yeah, I kind of like my idea of like watching the movies, to get a better sense of the story. Oh, here's another thing. Charles Dickens, and I think he wrote Great Expectations. Charles Dickens, who is a writer who, as a writer, I admire very much, certainly. Very prolific writer. And, but here's one thing that I don't care about his style. I don't care for his style, and that it's very edgy, critical, and what I'd call blue, in the sense of it's kind of sad. It's really very sad. It's very sad writing. I mean, just think about Great Expectations and that woman who was in the room with the wedding dress on and the clocks that stood still. This is Charles Dickens is describing a very sad event, a very sad turn of events. And I just can't put myself in that space for too long without just just feeling just so sad and depressed and angry. And in fact, Charles Dickens makes me angry. Except for A Christmas Carol. I think he had something to do with that. Um, but you know what? Even A Christmas Carol is really a scary, angry, depressing story. I mean, it's Charles Dickens, great writer. Admire him very much. But depressing, sad, angry. Oh, yeah, I know. And it just, I don't know. I have a hard time reading stories that are just so sad, and it affects my mood. You know, I am somewhat empathetic, and I sort of fall into the backstories of these characters, and it's just, I don't know. It's not a way that I really want to spend my time. I'd rather spend my time with peace and enjoyment, comfort, and comedy. Yeah. But I admire anyone who's willing to take up the challenge and read those extremely challenging books. You know, that takes a lot of heart. You know, it takes a lot of fortitude to get through those stories. And it takes a lot of a critical imagination. I know, a really strong imagination to pull through those books. And so I admire you for that interest that you are having. I think I myself would probably be content with just watching the movies or listening to the audiobooks. In fact, here's the thing. I'm having a challenge listening to the Harry Potter series. Right now, I am currently reading, or at least listening to the audiobook, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which is the 7th book in the series. It's the last book, and I'm just slogging through it. And part of the reason is because uh, it's sometimes it's a really intense book when you get to know these characters, and the main characters are upset at one another, and they're arguing and they're fighting. It's like, oh boy, it's hard for me to take. When Harry Potter is being attacked by the Death Eaters, or Voldemort or anything like that. I don't know. I wondered to myself, could people write stories that were just enjoyable to watch and to listen to and to read? Must there be drama? Must there be difficulty and challenge? I guess, I don't know. I have this sense that this idea that there has to be some kind of a hero's journey where the hero is continuously confronted with challenges. I think that might be an old-fashioned idea. You know, I think that probably comes from the Greeks. It's an idea that arose originally from the Greeks about how stories should proceed. And I think to some extent we're locked into that. Still, 2,000 years later, actually more than that, maybe like 2,500 years later, we're still locked into this idea that there's got to be high drama in stories. And, and let me tell you, the artists and musicians of today are delivering on that high drama. And not only that, the news production studios and the media studios, there's just almost too much high drama in the world today for me. I personally, I like things to be a little lighter. Now, I also enjoy like philosophical abstract thinking, and I enjoy sort of lightness every once in a while. Now, here's the thing. I can go deep. I can go deep. I want to go deep if it's authentic and genuine, and what is real in the moment. I am totally ready to go deep with other people. and in the media that I consume, definitely, you know. But I'd rather it not be some, artificial. I'm looking for authenticity, man. I'm looking for some genuineness. Anyway, so let's see what else. Thank you. I want to thank you for that nice exchange we had. I hope you got the book that I sent you. I did send you the Jack Canfield book, like 10 Principles for Success in Life, and I hope it's something that you can get behind. And sometimes I daydream about how wonderful it would be if you would focus on your own personal growth through reading psychology and self-help books, because that would be an area that we could share together and enjoy together. That's a big part of my life. And if you had any interest in that area at all, if it comes to, say, like productivity or self-esteem or positive thinking or law of attraction, or any of the components of the self-development, self-growth lifestyle, if you have an interest in going to conferences and going to seminars, going to workshops, man, that would make my heart explode with happiness and joy. If there is any inkling of self-improvement in your personality, please show that to me so that I can rejoice and dance around my living room. Because who doesn't want to dance around their living room, right? That's for sure. And do a little celebration. In fact, heck, that text message exchange we had last night, I'm ready to celebrate it today, right now. Let's go celebrate. Let's literally go buy a chocolate cake. Let's go buy a chocolate cake. Put candles on it. For every text message exchange, we'll put a candle on the cake and we'll celebrate it. And what is a fun drink to have? Root beer. Root beer and German chocolate cake. It's on the house. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really pleased. Now, the fact is that I had a choice last night to either work on that video that I sent you about myself enjoying my time at the park and at the NBC conference, or I could go visit with friends down in Santa Barbara. And I chose, and I'm very proud of this choice, I chose to spend time producing the video to send to you. And it worked, I made the right choice because, like I mentioned, my priority to learn more about you and be more part of your life on a scale from 1 to 10 is a 10. Yeah. Now, of course, I also have to live my own life out of practicality. I know I got to go to work, girl. And, I also got to take care of my own needs. I got maintenance. I got to wash my hands. I have to brush my teeth. Somebody's got to do that stuff. If I don't do it, nobody will. I know. By the way, I'm wondering how your water flosser is coming along. I wonder if you're using it regularly. Personally, I use my water flosser all the dang time. And in fact, yeah, I also like brushing my teeth. But I like using my water flosser even more than brushing my teeth. Yes. It's kind of funny. I spoke with a person last weekend, and she told me that not only does she use a water flosser, but she uses a thread flosser too, right after the water flosser. And I'm like, what? She does both? thread flossing and water flossing. That is a lady that's got lots of self-control, a lot of self-discipline. Because here's the thing about thread flossing. It's a little a bit uncomfortable to me. And it's kind of difficult. It's, you got to get the thread and you do it. No. The water flosser, at least I've got this wand, right? That I just zip across my teeth on the top and on the bottom, and everything turns out okay. Anyway, let's see. I wanted to talk today about things I'm grateful for. One of the things I'm grateful for is just how intelligent you are, and how you have an interest in art. Clearly, you have an interest in classic literature. I mean, here it is, summer vacation, and you're reading these classics. Wuthering Heights, Great Expectations. I mean, I see you as this artist, who's just, now I don't know if this vision is correct or not, but I see you as this contemplative artist who is sort of focused on her creativity and her emotional expression and being in the world, writing poetry, taking photographs. I see you as a performer. Maybe not a performer, because I was thinking about your past interest in acting, and I was also thinking about some of the sports you've been interested in, but that may not be a big part of your personality. I'm thinking it might be more laid back, restful, contemplative, abstract. Also, sort of a focus on being, just sort of relaxing into the world and sensing what's going on around you. I also have a sense that you like sort of creating a comfortable environment. I have a sense that when it comes to fashion and home decor, there's an emphasis there. I'm also having a sense that maybe you like plants as a decorative part of your home decor. Now, I'm just grasping at straws here because I'm only getting glimpses of you in various ways. I have a sense that you're less sort of outgoing. You're less into travel and putting yourself out there and expression, whether physical or verbal expression, and you're more into creating this cocoon of comfort and enjoyment and peace in your life. And beauty. I have a sense that you have a real love of beauty, a real love of learning. And so I'm getting all these messages, all these signals, trying to put them together to get a sense of who you are. And so that is totally cool. And honestly, I must say, I would like to join you in some of it, whether it's maybe coloring in a coloring book, or having a deep philosophical discussion, or discussing a book that you've read recently and how it made you feel, and how it inspired you to make certain changes in your life. I would totally be happy to be a part of that expression of yours, that self-expression. And I'm hoping and wishing that you might be generous enough to let me in on some of that, some of that goodness, some of that sweet Emily attention. Yeah. So let's see what else going on. So today is an exciting day. It's kind of interesting how, here's the thing about my personality. I think I tend to be more of a doer. I tend to be more energetic. And I've got my to-do lists, which I love. And I'm always changing my external behavior and communication style. And now I also tend to be what I'd call I was about to say endothermic. Exothermic or endothermic? No, no, no. That's the wrong branch of science. Um, um, and introverted. I also tend to be somewhat introverted. I can be extroverted, um, but I think I might be best described as a non-shy introvert. I'm also really enjoying just sort of the physicality of putting myself out there and the courage that that requires. But I'm also very content to just stay at home and watch a movie. You know, I talk about movies a lot. And the funny thing is, I actually don't watch a lot of movies, but I talk about them a lot. They influenced my youth quite a bit. Anyway, the point is that, you know, I can be quite introverted at times. And I also have this love of analysis. It's a big part of who I am. I love abstract thinking and also trying to get to the core of a solution. For me, I all I see around me are problem areas that need analysis. I know I'm always recently I've been focused on planning and trying to do as much planning as I can. I'm using Google Keep on my iPad Pro to put together to-do lists and Google Calendar. And also, there's an Apple Pencil app that I use on my iPad. I just write and write and write and write. I do this like journaling, and I do it every day. And I am just continuously learning from my own writing. I'm putting my thoughts down on paper, analyzing those thoughts. When I read a book, I try to put that book on paper too in some way. These days, I'm thinking that, real thinking isn't taking place unless I'm writing at the same time. So if I'm thinking about a relationship, I'll try to write that down. If I'm thinking about work, I'll try to write that down. If I'm thinking about just what's going on in my own mind, let's say I have some really strong feelings about something, then I'll write that down. And I'm finding that writing stuff down is very helpful for me to keep track of stuff because I have a tendency to be somewhat flighty in my thinking. I mean, it's not like ADHD, but I think as I get older, I'm becoming less and less focused. But I am figuring out what I want more and more. So I'm glad for that. Really, living is like this incredible process of discovery. Discovering about how you like to play in the world, discovering how you like to learn, discovering what you're curious about, what kind of people you like to hang out with. And, what's cool is that every once in a while you discover something you really like to do. Like I discover food that I like to eat, like apples, for example. I'm really into apples lately. And who knew that I would be as much into apples as I am today? I'm considering going to the Avila Beach Party Apple Festival. There's like an apple festival in Avila Beach. I think it's coming up in September. I'm thinking about going. Now, I have a suspicion that there might be more than just apples there, like apple pies and apple tarts and apple custard and apple, who knows, apple juice, apple cider. Who knows what there will be there. Fact is, my interest is mainly just apples, the fruit, the unprocessed fruit. I'm not into apple pies necessarily or apple fritters or anything like that, or apple pancakes. I am literally just interested in whole fruit apples. So Speaking of fruit and speaking of health, indirectly, yesterday I ran on the treadmill. I went to the gym. I try to go to the gym often. I'll go to the gym today. I'm going to do a weightlifting workout today, upper body, probably do chest today. But yesterday I had this amazing running workout. I ran for 50 minutes, which I know doesn't sound like that big a deal. And I ran at 6.2 miles per hour. What the big deal is that I ran for 16 minutes at 8 miles per hour, which is the fastest I've ever run for as long as I've ever run ever. And I did that run with relative ease. And I'm really proud of myself for having done it. I am loving working out on the treadmill. And in fact, I'm actually going to do another kind of treadmill today. After I do my chest workout, I am going to attempt to do Jacob's ladder, which is like a horizontal ladder. Actually, it's maybe like at an angle. It's oblique. It's a ladder at like a 45-degree angle that I climb on. And I do it for about 25 minutes. I think I'm probably going to do it today for about 26 minutes. Let me tell you, it's a hardcore workout, and at the end of it, I am just sweating up a storm. I've got to make sure to hydrate this morning because I'm going to be expending a lot of calories, at least 300 calories in 30 minutes for sure. So that's cool. I've been working out a lot lately, and I think it's been showing up in a lot of different ways. I think I've been very energetic recently. And I think on some level, I just need to calm down. I've got so much energy. I've got so much energy. I've been thinking about going to Disneyland. I know. Why I think that way? I want to go to Disneyland and I want to check out that Star Wars world. Here's the thing about Disneyland. Disneyland, I don't know what time it opens, but it's like 10 o'clock a.m. and it doesn't close until midnight or 1 a.m. I think it probably closes at like midnight or something. So I don't know about you, but that's a lot of walking. I mean, that's 12, 13, 14 hours of walking around, going on rides and stuff. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot of fun to me. But here's the thing. Going to Disneyland can also be a little bit expensive. And I think I also have to reserve time to go to that Star Wars thing. And I think I've heard rumors that you can only stay in that place for like 2 hours at a time. I don't know. Because they're trying to shuttle people in and out as efficiently as they can. I've got to do some research. I've only heard like rumors about how Disneyland manages that part of the park. But anyway, I think I'd like to go to Disneyland and pick up some dark chocolate there. It's kind of funny. When I go to these amusement parks, I allow myself to eat chocolate and ice cream and stuff like that. I know. By the way, I'm vegetarian now. I can eat dairy, but only in strict moderation. Anyway, I hope you're doing fine. Sometimes I overthink how things are going between us, and I want to keep things light. I want to keep things playful, and I hope you want the same. I want to play. I wonder, are you willing to come out and play with me? Can Emily come out and play? Let's play, girl. I've been thinking recently that I would like to play frisbee with you. Totally, for 20 minutes, just for 20 minutes. I don't have to play it for an hour or all day. But 20 minutes of frisbee, that sounds like a lot of fun. But I don't know, it's been kind of chilly outside. I mean, I'm looking out the window right now and it seems pretty gray. It's just been cool. This whole summer has just been really cool. I don't know when it's going to get warm. Uh, Let me tell you, these weather patterns on this planet are really messed up right now. I slept a little odd last night with my pillow, and so my neck is like all whacked out. Oy, oy, oy. I just want to give a shout out to my body. I work out pretty frequently and I tend to work out. I'm going to work out today. I worked out yesterday. I worked out the day before that. I tend to work out a lot and somehow my body is resilient enough to manage all of the pressures and stress I put on it every single day. It is that strong. Um, Now, of course, here's the thing. I'm very gradual when it comes to my workouts. For me, it's all about longevity. The last thing I want to do is like lift 50 pounds more than I did the last time or work out for 10 minutes longer or at a really tough workout or do like 10 more sets than I usually do and then injure myself. That's the last thing I want to do. What I really want is just this gradual progression of getting stronger and faster and more physically healthy over time, and then developing this routine of working out very regularly, even every day, just so that it becomes an important part of my life, which it has become. I want it, and if I ever get injured in the future, I want to be able to continue to work out despite my injury and swim or I don't know, if I can't run on the treadmill, then maybe I'll do the elliptical or do the bike or do the Jacob's ladder or something like that. I don't ever want to get to a point where I'm taking long breaks where I'm not exercising at all. I think that sounds like a recipe for disaster. I think I read this article in Scientific American one time that talked about human beings and how we are, quote, sharks of the savannah, unquote. And I think that's a really telling metaphor. Human beings are sharks of the savannah. When I think of sharks, they're always moving, right? They're never sitting still. They're sharks, of course, they have to move in order to breathe because water has to go through their mouths and through their gills so that they can oxygenate their blood. And so they have to keep moving forward. And, I know marine animals can migrate hundreds and hundreds of miles. They're continuously traveling. And I think human beings are very similar. I think human beings, as we adapted to the savannas in Africa, we were roaming the country, um, hunting, looking for food, following the herds with their migration. We were always on the move. In fact, stories in the past are a lot of the stories are about people walking and traveling all across Europe, all across Asia, people just walking. I mean, they just did a lot of walking. They just walked everywhere, walking great distances. I mean, if you think about Manifest Destiny, these are people who just walked across the United States. They just walked. They did a lot of walking. And they were continuously moving, building homes, building businesses, trading, communicating. Human beings were meant to move. And it's kind of funny, you know, cities are the way they are because machinery is pretty static, stationary. The reason people are locked up into cities is because of economics. Otherwise, we'd all be on the countryside, walking around, traveling, exercising regularly. But we're all locked up in these cities, which is going to change soon. Once telework becomes more the norm. I mean, people love to travel. And I think it's partly their love to travel has to do with this impetus, this drive to keep moving physically. We are sharks of the savannah, which to me means that we are forever in motion, always moving, always doing things, and that is our deepest desire. Hanging out in one place, like in a room all day long for weeks and months, or in an office cubicle all day long, is just, it's like the exact opposite of the nature of human beings. Human beings exist to move, and that's the way our mind is too. We call our mind the monkey mind. Fact is, our mind hops from idea to idea to idea, moment to moment. We'll have multiple thoughts at the same time because we've got brains that are parallel processors. And, we are continuously taking note of the current state of our environment and taking action. We are action-oriented people. We are, if anything, that's how the world is going to be saved. It's going to be saved because people are movers and shakers. We just can't sit still. I mean, I think about Edison and his laboratory where he came up with all these inventions like the radio and the telephone and the light bulb. He was driven through energy to take action, to come up with prototypes for the most wild ideas. It was this energetic drive. And I have a feeling that we're sort of in the pendulum swing of becoming as stationary as we possibly can be. I mean, the pendulum is swinging. We're basically a static nation. And I think hopefully soon we'll start getting to be more dynamic, more traveling, more moving around, doing stuff. I mean, I see it happening with autonomous vehicles, and I see a lot of opportunities for travel. I can imagine, like I might, because of autonomous vehicles, I might actually set up a bed at office space in a vehicle and just, I could travel around the United States, around the world with this atomic vehicle. Maybe it's, maybe this autonomous vehicle can roll on water. I mean, roll on roads and also float on water. I mean, why not? Basically it'd be an amphibious vehicle, an amphibious autonomous vehicle. And I could literally travel the world and work. Yeah, that would be totally cool. So what that means is that I could see people in person, say in Moscow or Beijing or Singapore or Washington, D.C. or L.A. I just type my destination into the computer and like I would be there overnight, and I'd show up in DC, and then I'd show up in Florida, and then I'd show up in Seattle the next day. Because after getting 8 hours of sleep, the car would be driving on its own anywhere over the surface of the planet. And yeah, I can just see just distance being a non-issue. Yeah. And I can see travel just becoming more and more insanely practical of an option. So anyway, the future looks really bright. And I think, Emily, you may want to count your lucky stars that you're going to be a part of it. Regrettably, no, actually, I've really been seeing lots of change lately, and I feel grateful for seeing and noticing the change. One thing as you grow older is you begin to recognize, I mean, not only how fast things change, but how slow things change. And it's kind of interesting to see what the sticking points are of human civilization. You know, as you grow older, Emily, you'll get that perspective. You'll be able to tell, oh yeah, this hasn't changed in a long, long time. I'm so thankful that the rate of change is changing, that we're speeding up change. It's becoming a lot more rapid. Technologies are just falling out of the sky now, particularly with everyone with having a smartphone in their pocket. And yeah, it's a wonderful world so long as we can stay alive in it. So one of the things that I think is important for you, Em, is to understand that in order to continue living this life, you need to preserve and protect your body and mind. And there are a few key ways to do that. If you want to protect and preserve your mind, I suggest you do a lot of learning, a lot of growing, and also stay away from drugs. Stay away from street drugs, stay away from alcohol, stay away from smoking. That will do good. That will go a long way toward protecting your mind. Protecting your body is really just about preventing your body from undergoing some kind of trauma. Hard impacts, slips, trips, and falls, injection hazards. That is, getting stuck with stuff like needles and nails and things like that. Being wary of electricity and certainly chemicals, physical hazards that like happen because of impacts in cars or on bicycles. So definitely wear your helmet and wear your safety belt. Do your best to be a passenger in vehicles that are driven by responsible people, and protect your body from getting injured. You don't want necessarily your bones to get broken, and you want to stay away from any kind of injuries to your hands or to any of your joints, or your back in particular. So you want to keep yourself healthy so that you can see the future, right? You have the potential to see an amazing future unfold. And you can't see it if your eyes have been damaged because you forgot to put on eye protection, and yeah, definitely wear goggles, protect your hearing by wearing earplugs, protect your skin by wearing sunscreen, and, do all the hygiene you can, all the self-care you can to protect and preserve your body and your mind so that you can be a part of the future. Yeah. Well, I guess that's my message to you, Em. It's so awesome to be traveling in this universe with you on this planet, our little starship that's orbiting the sun once a year. We're also in our solar system orbiting the center of the galaxy. And it's awesome. This is an amazing time to be alive. And I'm so thankful that I get to share it with you. And I'm just so happy that, I don't know, that we're both alive at the same time and we're living our lives out and we're making choices and decisions. And we get to make them together and interact with each other every once in a while. It really is an amazing thing. Every moment of life is not to be taken for granted. It's to be valued because, this life will never happen again. This second will never happen again. It's like receiving a present knowing that you won't get any other present ever again. Life is like this gift, and, it's the only gift we have. And so you might as well enjoy it. The good parts of the gift, the bad parts of the gift, all the many levels of the gift. Just, I ask that you take a moment and be at least attempt to be accepting of the world around you, and to be grateful for just how amazingly awesome it is. I mean, the very fact that you're breathing and alive this very moment, the very fact that you're listening or watching this video is a miracle, is an absolute miracle. And on a scale from 1 to 10, being grateful for it, ought to be a 10. And, I think that scarcity, that aspect of scarcity of life, in some way plays a really strong role in heightening the pleasure and joy that you can receive or you can experience in this life. I mean, in a way, it's like taking a drink of like a champagne that's 100 years old or something like that. Or I don't know much about alcohol, but I mean, imagine that you're drinking a whiskey that is the finest whiskey ever and is incredibly rare. And it was a miracle that it even ended up in your hands. I mean, how would you drink that whiskey? Well, my guess is that you would savor every moment of it, every note. That every note would have a story behind it. And that's the way life is. Every moment there's a story behind it, a new level of understanding, a way to enjoy yourself and other people. And it's just so rich. This tapestry of human experience is rich. It's super rich in the sense that there are just layers and layers and layers of meaning wrapped around infinitely detailed kinds of experience, infinitely different types of experience. And, we're basically at a feast. We are here at a buffet of life. And this is the last buffet that you'll ever experience. And we're so privileged to have access to the buffet, to have anything that we want to have the freedom to select anything we want to select from the buffet. And it's our only buffet. This is it. This is the buffet, moment to moment. And I really do feel privileged to just even acknowledge that the richness and the detail of life is just so, it's really spellbindingly infinite. And the motivation to enjoy it is high. Don't spend a moment of time thinking about negativity or judgment, or feeling sad or lost, because every new moment provides more than you could ever experience. Yeah, every new moment. Okay, so you lost a loved one, but there are literally 7.5 billion other people who want to be loved on this planet. And they're reaching out for you. They are saying, they're grabbing you by the collar and they're saying, love me. Talk to me. They have their arms wide open. I mean, you can think about the loss of the past, but in the present, there's just so much juiciness out there. And I hope you recognize it and take advantage of some of the juiciness and take advantage of this buffet we call life. Anyway, I love you very much. I think you're amazing as you are. I am all about the intent to accept whatever you have to offer me, whatever life has to offer me, and feel grateful for whatever I receive. And feel grateful for just contemplating the fact that I get to receive, that isn't even an option. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day today, a wonderful rest of the week. And I'll talk to you later, girl. All right? I love you. Bye-bye.